I was just recently at church, and this occasion I had invited all my friends. And afterwards, we all went out to lunch. One thing I noticed was how much I had built up anxiety. Oh my gosh, like I don't even really know how to talk. Like, oh, I don't really know how to start up a conversation. So, the reason why this experience was a little bit more anxiety inducing versus other moments that I had in the past with them was because it's been so long that we've maybe seen each other or actually been out in a social setting with other people. I realized how absorbed I was on my phone. I was inside of my house, how much I was kind of cutting myself off from everyone else around me. And by me doing this, I felt like I've lost kind of my ability to start up conversation, to actually go out there and speak to people. Because one thing I've always known about myself is that I'm not afraid to communicate with people, but sometimes me initiating conversation is what sometimes is nerve-wracking to me. Even though it may be slightly uncomfortable at first, you learn so much from it because you've put yourself out there and decided, you know what, I'm going to this public setting. I'm going to talk with people, even if I am maybe nervous at first. You channel that as excitement and you realize this is a bonding moment for me to not only grow in the way I communicate, but grow in a relationship that you want to keep sacred. If you think that not communicating at all is the answer, you're completely wrong. You saying nothing is still a form and an action of doing nothing. You're basically saying to that person that you just don't care enough, that you aren't well spoken, and that you just would rather not waste your time with them. If you really want to keep a relationship solid with someone, you better talk to them. You better keep up with them in their lives. I was noticing how I wasn't showing up for friends. I wasn't being there. I wasn't communicating. I wasn't talking with them. And it's something that I've always been kind of working on. I want to get better and I want to reach out. I want to send things to them. If you start to look at it as a chore, it's going to be a lot harder to connect with them as a true friend. If you look at it as a way to build trust, then us being consistent at this one thing, communicating with people we love and holding this relationship and building it upon trust and truth, I think that'll only spill into other areas of your life. So if you're consistent at this thing, it'll eventually grow in other areas of your life that maybe you're lacking in as well. So where you're lacking in one area that you're really, really trying to work on, it's going to start affecting other areas of your life. And what happens is if you lack in this one area, like say communication, it's going to be a lot harder to build on other parts of your life. And so by me saying this, you're probably wondering, okay, well, if I just am consistent at this one thing, it'll grow and it'll work on every other area that I'm lacking. Okay, yes, it can. But how that really works out and to become true is if you're building this foundation on a rock, on a strong, firm foundation. Because if you're building it on something that is very loose, like sand, how's it ever going to stay steady when another hard thing comes at you? Another challenge in life comes at you, because they will always come. They're always going to try to knock you down. And so what I heard from church just on Sunday, and my pastor explained it very well, was how Jesus is your rock. And if you don't build something in your life on that rock, which is Jesus, it will crumble because everything else is not a strong foundation, only Jesus is. So if you're trying to build on something that can easily tear down, if you're trying to build on only just success, you're trying to build on money, you're trying to build on just having the love of your life, but you're not rooting those aspects that can bring you joy and bring you happiness on something that is true happiness, that is true love, and is our creator, then what will happen is those things will crumble. Because when something hard hits you, it's only going to tear you down. Because when you're in a hard time, but your root is Jesus, your rock is Jesus, then you always will remember that that foundation is Him. You always can rely on Him. You can't rely on money. You can't rely on just the material things of this world. Because those things fade. Our body will fade. This world will eventually not be here, but our spirit will. And the person that we go to when we have passed away is Jesus, is our Lord, is God. And our soul being left over is eternal if we believe in Him. And so for us to believe that our foundation is only here on earth and nothing else, we've lost sight of what is fundamentally true. We've lost sight of how to build up our life and create meaningful impacts, create meaningful relationships. We lose that sight of how to do these things because we no longer have the truth of how to keep these things steady and how to build these things up so that they do not crumble. And so me looking back at what my pastor said about how to build your life on a strong foundation, I realized that and I soaked that in, and I tried to see where I wasn't building through Him. I wasn't building for Jesus. And an area that I wasn't building through Jesus, with Jesus, was my communication. Even though I am creating YouTube videos and I have Him helping me. Thank you, writer. And even though I was creating YouTube videos, I'm obviously talking to you guys right now. I wasn't talking to the people in my life. I was only solely relying my communication for my YouTube. And so I was kind of neglecting to communicate with my friends. I was realizing how that was affecting my ability to go out there and feel like I could do other things in my life. I was starting to put off other things that I knew I had to do. But in reality, since communication is such a strong, important aspect of my life and getting things out there, I knew that I had to start working on my ability, my skill of communicating outside of YouTube, outside of my home, outside of just my partner and I had to remember I have other family, I have other friends, and people in my life that really matter to me. And so this new urge of needing to be consistent in communication, I realized, okay, since this is such a big part of my life right now and a huge calling that God has put in my life is to tell others about Him and tell others my testimony of how He's worked in my life and my friends' lives and everybody that I know, then why am I going to lack in my communication just because I feel unworthy, or just because I feel my voice isn't strong enough to reach others, or if I feel that I'm not good at making videos, so thinking that my friends don't like me, or I don't have that much family that loves me, or I need to find more people, but I don't know where to look, just all these limiting beliefs. So regardless of whether or not I think that I am not a good communicator, I know that Jesus, my foundation, has told me that I need to communicate. I need to be a good person to others. I need to be there for them, show up, be present in their lives and not absent just because I think that I need to isolate myself from everybody for whatever reason. If I just think that that's going to build me up just because I want to be in my shell, because I don't want to change, I'm no longer going to see the opportunities that God has right in front of me, has already presented to me, but I am the one that doesn't want to build on them. Just because I've decided that I no longer want God to be a part of it. I no longer want to do this for God. That's just absurd, because I'm now putting myself in the position of control. I've taken God out of the picture when He was making it all along. So why would I do that? Because the enemy is trying to tear me down, is trying to tell me that I can't do these things because of my self-worth, things that I'm shameful about, or things that I feel like I'm not good at. All of these things that are being instilled into my head to make me not do the things that God is already asking me to do, because he knows that I can do them very well and that he's put it into my heart. And if I change my heart because I'm insecure or because I want to stay hidden, I want to be comfortable, then that won't go through with what God's plan, what God has planned for me already. He is at the root of everything that anybody does. And the moment that I had stopped to give thanks for the Lord and stopped doing it for him was the moment that I grew lazy, was the moment that I started doubting myself. And we cannot start doubting ourselves, or else we don't know how to navigate our life. We don't know how to without him. So I know that was a lot of yapping, but the core root of it is to realize the certain areas in your life where you have left out Jesus, where you've stopped doing it for him, where you've stopped even focusing on how he's impacted your life, for the things that he's given you that you've stopped being grateful for. All these areas that we all need to take a step back in and realize this priority thing that he's put in front of you. Have you stopped paying attention to it? And how can you bring it back to him and start focusing on it so that it may build through Jesus and spill in every other area of your life that you feel is lacking as well? Because the way Jesus moves is in very miraculous ways, and he can do anything. So if you start trusting in what he can do for you, you're set. So take a moment, reflect, think about this, meditate on it, fast about it, whatever you need to do that you feel is right for you to get this clarity. You'll find that new reawakened path, and you'll realize, wow, it was just from this one thing that God has put in front of me and given me the ability to do so easily that I had neglected to show up for, and I've neglected to serve him in. Have a blessed evening. I love everyone here. Thank you for watching.